are invariably getting passed to the students, right? So how do you basically look at that? So these are some of the things that we are seeing as some of the challenges that are associated if you are trying to bring in quality education for all. So Nishant, if you can go to the next slide. Yeah, one click after it. So what we have done, as I said, from Infosys perspective, and we have been doing it as I articulated, we launched this initiative called Infosys Springboard with the vision of 10 million students being positively impacted. And then there are three sets of learners that we are looking at as a part of our vision. The first one is the young learners, which is class 6 to class 12. In line again, I'm very happy to see NEP is also kind of looking at that. No, just hold on, please. And then the second one is what we call as anyone who is past 12th standard, which is higher education. And how do you basically make them ready for the digital learning and the digital skills? And the third one is we are living in a world where learning doesn't stop after college anymore. So how do you make sure that lifelong learners can continuously shift careers, can continuously move across different things, not just be stuck into only one thing that they have learned or they have passed, right? As a part of that, Nishan, I'll give you the cue. Sorry. So what we are doing is we said an ambition like this, if you're talking about 10 million students, cannot just happen just by chance. And our approach towards is we are looking at three-pronged approach towards this. Like you have a direct to learners approach. We have launched this platform free for all. There are 12,000 courses on digital technologies, which is completely available free for anyone if you want to learn. So we are directly having people register and learn. So that's the direct to learn. The second one we said is, educational institutions need a lot of support. When we are talking about quality education and embracing digital technologies, unlike other countries, in India, the concept of learning management system, learning experience platforms is not much. We still focused a lot on textbooks, and I know we have innovated on that a little bit, but the concept of learning platform, learning management is not there. So there we are partnering with educational institutions, and we are saying any educational institutions which are looking at leveraging digital, Infosys will give the platform free of cost to kind of completely digitize their school. They can leverage the learning content that we are providing. They can take the virtual collaboration like Zoom and Webex. We have our own equivalent software there. We'll give that free. So essentially, we are saying any educational institution can make their digital school using our platform. And the third one, especially with NEP and state governments that we are seeing, we are now working with state governments to see how can we directly work and help on the Department of College Education, Department of School Education, all of that, right? So this is a three-pronged strategy that we have taken. Ishant, if you can go to the next slide. But while we do that, in line with the quality education philosophy or the tenets, we want to make sure that we want to not only focus on one state, one city. We want to make sure that it is securely distributed, a secular distribution on our job anywhere, whether it is Infosys or any other company. And the last one is the experience itself. How do you make sure that you have gamified experiences and everything? So that's the focus. One is we have, as I said, partnered with many things. Infosys itself is providing its content free of cost. We have partnered with different companies assessments where the focus is on individual's ability to kind of learn and apply rather than remember and present, right? That is important. So these are some of the recommendations we have. The last slide before I close, this is what we are trying to do to help with the NEP focus with Springboard goal that I talked about. We are trying to make sure that we are providing the greatest of digital technologies that we ourselves use. We are continuously enabling faculty and teacher empowerment. We are trying to make learning more interesting, gamified. And then we are also trying to partner with different institutions so that it should not be, again, a siloed efforts where every NGO or every institution runs their own thing. How do you converge and how do you partner? So these are some things that we are doing. I'm really happy, ma'am, first for giving us the opportunity to present, and looking forward to synergies around some of the initiatives that you are doing and what Springboard can offer. So thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tirumala Arohi, for giving us an insight into how to make aggressively the teaching learning process high tech as per your recommendations. And with that, we would like to have and welcome Ma'am Anushri Mishra here on the stage to join us for this plenary session. I request Ma'am Roli Tripathi to please welcome her. She is the Director, Programs in Plan International for Education, Livelihoods and Child Protection and Gender-Based Violence. She holds a Master's in Child Development from Delhi University. She has 25 years of managing complex health and education projects across India and other geographic regions. We welcome you, ma'am. In this series of discussion, we have now Ma'am Kamal Gaur, Deputy Director, Programs Education, Save the Children, to give her views on this towards universal foundational literacy and numeracy.
Good afternoon. It's really difficult to have a plenary session after lunch, but yes, I can't do much about it. But what I would like to today talk about is first about what Save the Children does as a global movement. So Save the Children is what we say is not an organization. It's a movement. It's a movement which works around children and children's rights. When we say movement, that means we learn from different countries, we share, there's so much of evidence that generates across the globe, and then we learn from it and practice in India, and practice then gives other sorts of evidence which goes globally. So it's learning, cross learning. And we are 100 years old, little over 100 years old. So we celebrated our 100th birthday last year. So, and Save the Children in India is around 12 years old, and we work in 120 countries. We work in 3 breakthrough areas. One relates to education, second one relates to child protection, and third one relates to health. So basic areas are 3 where we work, and each and every work relates to these 3 areas. So my conversation with you will be divided into 3 areas. One, I will talk about how Government of India is looking at FLM, right? Because whatever we do as an organization, it has to sync and align with what Government of India is doing, right? Second area, my conversation will be around what Save the Children is doing in India. Third will be, as asked for, what could be the potential and probable recommendation to accelerate foundation literacy and numeracy in India. So when so first point that, when new education policy came in, then Save the Children, like many other organizations, was part of it in terms of initiating the discourse, contributing the experiences, contributing the evidences. And during that time, way back in 2016-17, we had done research, which is called Right Start. And that was for the first time, I think if we look at it, research happened in the area of 3 to 6 years old. It just, and this was a build up on the longitudinal study done by Ambedkar University. So we were not doing anything new. We were building on. So there was data, there was evidence, then we build on that evidence. And as part of Right Start study, we landscape uh, what is the situation of early learning in India. We also discussed in that study what could be the financial models, which means how government of India can leverage longitudinal studies best practices into developing something like a best recipe to for early childhood care and education. And this happened. A lot of advocacy was done, and it resulted into NEP having a 1.5 chapter on foundational literacy and numeracy. The whole idea about, I think, including foundational literacy and numeracy was to ensure that, and to also strengthen, or you can say augment, the student learning outcomes. And we were measuring student learning outcomes in India in grade 3. So the whole idea was that if we do something before grade 3, it has to be magical. It has to suddenly change everything in grade 3. So children need to be grade appropriate learners, right? So grade 3, where assessments were happening, where large scale assessment like NAS was happening in grade 3. So that was the basic kind of a grade where you could understand whether children have grade appropriate competency and proficiency. So that was the cutoff line. So grade 3 was that we will measure in grade 3 whether all sorts of inputs given, say between 3 to 8 years old, helps in realizing full potential of the child at the grade 3 level. So basically, we were talking about in NEP with inclusion of FLN, student learning outcomes to be achieved for grade 3. Second piece, that FLN recognized early learning. That means importance of under 6s. So children who are 3 to 6 years old, first time they got recognized in the sense that, education, not education, I would say, stimulation, early learning experiences between 3 to 6 years old were never recognized. They were not recognized because they don't make vote sense. Their parents do, but parents feel, okay, मेरा बच्चा है, 3 से 6 साल का है, छोटा है, घर में है, safe है, मेरे साथ है, सुरक्षित है, nothing beyond that, right? So first time, though we had early learning ECC policy way back in 2013, but there was no program, no discussion, no conversation around that. But in terms of policy, new education policy, 1.5 chapter. So I think that was the proud moment for people who work in the area of early learning, because then Government of India recognized. Another piece which happened was that Government of India said it has to be done foundational literacy and numeracy in mission mode. What is this mission mode? I heard about mission mode way back in 94 when district primary education program was implemented. That was in mission mode. Mission mode means everything is on fast track basis, right? So suddenly you will see Vidya Pravesh coming up. Suddenly you will see FLN networks getting formed at state level. So everything is at so-called supersonic speed. But so that's something that it was done in mission mode. Another thing was that there was focus on inclusion, but inclusion of different kind, inclusion in the classroom, right? But very limited idea of inclusion in terms of gender, tribal, children in street situation, children who are on move, children who are in, I talked about street situation, children. So children in difficult circumstances, there was very limited focus about what happens to their FLN, no? What happens to their early learning piece? So yes. And then it had new education policy in context with to this FLN. They had 3 development goals. First time, education talked about health and well-being of children. So one goal, which is there in FLN, is talks about health and well-being. Second one talks about effective communication. And third one talks about involved learner. But when you look at it, look at the language, it is not very measurable, right? So there is a challenge up there, and I will talk about it when I'm talking about the challenges. But one thing which was, few things which are really good about new education talking about FLN is that highest priority in education. So MOE, you will see FLN wing, FLN network at the state level, FLN discussions having at the state level. So, though the discussions are very in a very different way in different states. When I visited Rajasthan, they were only talking in terms of writing approach papers and, in context to FLN. When I visited Jharkhand, they were talking in terms of making changes in the curriculum, adapting it, and also talking about monitoring and mentoring master trainers. So they went up to that level. So there were different kinds of FLN practices that are happening in states. Every state is mandated to form FLN network. Means people like me and people who are sitting here, they come together to support government in designing, defining curriculum and ensure that the first set of curriculum, when it is ready, the teachers are trained. First set of teachers or master trainers are trained. So up to that level, and also some sort of monitoring support. So all states are meant to have FLN networks. Then we are talking about universalization of foundation literacy and numeracy. इससे पहले कभी भी universalization of that level was never talked about. And now we have a targeted date. When we say targeted date, by 26-27, FLN needs to be universalized. Then, so we have a timeline. We are focusing on grade 3. And we are also saying FLN will have, say something like numbers, concepts, oral language. So all literacy and numeracy, both the parts. Reading readiness, reading comprehension, shapes, spatial learning. So all those will be part of it with the grade appropriate competencies. So this is about FLN mota in the policy piece. Now I will talk about how we are doing in Save the Children. COVID has been a biggest lesson learned in, I think, in everybody's life. So when we were during that time, schools were running in some way or the other. There was something which was happening with children who go to primary schools or secondary, something in somewhere in some form, good, bad, I'm not commenting, but something was happening. But when we talked about under 6s, nothing was happening. Not even Russian was there. So during that time, there was a lot of discussion that if something like this continues, what are we going to do with under 6s? Under 6s मैं बात कर रही हूँ, एक हिस्सा फाउंडेशन लिटरेसी और न्यूमरेसी का, क्योंकि वो 3 से 8 साल का जो एज है, उसमें I'm talking about right now about 3 to 6. I'll come to 6 to 8 later. So nothing was happening. Parents were not concerned. They were everybody. I think all the parents were concerned about safety and security of their child. well-being, health, which is fine, But in terms of um, learning continuity, nothing was happening. So at Save the Children, we came together, and what we did was we worked on a in-house curriculum, which we called Gulmohar. And very difficult to generate evidence, verify, do pilot testing of any curriculum, because वो सारी stages को आपको cover करना पड़ता है. जब तक मैं curriculum का नाम देती हूँ, तो उससे पहले बहुत सारी stages हैं. So we said, okay, how do we go about it? So we made first in-house videos, and we sent those videos to parents. So we had a cadre of something called academics support fellows, and we had our Anganwadi workers with us. So we took the number, phone number, and then we said we will share our videos. So we shared somewhere around 50 videos with parents to see whether it works or not. And we asked them that whatever you do at home with these videos, please share. So these videos were for parents, not for children. So in return, that time we got 500 videos back, little over 500 videos back. तो मोटा मोटा sense था कि videos काम करेंगे, because parents are responding. So then in-house we developed somewhere around little over 200 videos, shortlisted, and finally 80 videos were passed. 80 videos passed the test, and they were in the 5 domains: literacy, numeracy, physical motor development, socio-emotional learning, and general well-being. So what was missing during that time was the routine. Like we have timetable in school, there was no routine of children at home. So we started with this Gulmohar, which became a feeder program for our grade 1 and 2. So जब वो 0 to 3 to 6 years के लिए fix हो गया, and it started working, and we did partner with government. We said we will not release these videos. Every day one video to the parents. So it was responsibility of the CDPO to give those videos to supervisor, and supervisor in turn will go to Anganwadi worker, and wherever you don't have phone or parents don't have phone, then Anganwadi worker, when she goes to distribute ration, she will show those videos. So that's what was happening, and our academic support fellows were also reaching out to them. So that was the biggest learning. And I think foundational and learning in not only terms of 3 to 6, but we learned that it can be done for 6 to 8 years old also. So currently what Save the Children is doing, also doing these kind of videos for 6 to 8 years old. So that, and what is the principle behind this? Upward continuity, in the sense, whatever pedagogy is used with 3 to 6 years old needs to be continued in the 6 to 8 years old. So similar pedagogy. And so this is something which we are doing. Second piece which we are doing is focusing on play. Children's right to play. So play, when we say we talk about play within the school, not just sports. Playway method, learning through play. That's the idea. And it's not just programming piece. It's also a lot of advocacy with government to ensure that play gets incorporated in the FLN piece. Because जब आप अगर FLN document देखते हैं तो बहुत theoretical. मैंने 5-6 चीजों के example दिए कि comprehension, reading readiness, but there's no talk about how will it be transacted in the classroom. So that's something which we have practiced, and we are working with almost 12 state governments. Another piece which we were able to contribute in the area of FLN was our common approach called Ready to Learn, which is for 3 to 6 years old, literacy and numeracy boost, which is for 6 to 8 years old. So इस तरीके पे मतलब literacy और numeracy पे focus और पहला school readiness पे focus. Then we have recently done a research based मतलब first longitudinal study, then Right Start, then next study, where we have been able to जो हमारे financial models थे उनको costing किया. Means there are 3 different models. First time, In India, there has been costing done based on different practices. So government of India के लिए buffet है, 3 practices हैं, इसको कितना कितना पैसा लगेगा, आप उसको choose कर सकते हैं. So this is our contribution to foundational literacy and numeracy piece, because अगर आप कभी भी एजेंडा देखते हैं CSOs का, it talks about पता नहीं कितने सालों से 6% of GDP होना चाहिए, है ना? So लेकिन when government asked कि 6% कहाँ से आया, तो कभी आया था 63-65 के बीच में 6%. So we did, so that जवाब देने के लिए, if we have to ask or tell government that you are running FLN program, but what kind of support, financial investment you are doing? So for that, we had to come up with evidence. So this is the evidence which we have come up with, that how much resource support is required. So I'm not talking about the percentage of GDP here, because report is due to launch in another 20 days. So then I think the figures will be out. But yes, we are talking about a definite number. Another piece which we have been able to do is a lot of advocacy around foundational literacy and numeracy. We did a lot of story curves for small children, around 400 stories for children, by children. We did a lot of radio programs to promote foundation literacy and numeracy with Karnataka government, with Jharkhand government, with Rajasthan government. So these have been, and they have been regular programs. मतलब मैं जब episodes की बात करती हूँ, it runs into 50-60 episodes. And also another important component of FLN is breadth of skills required for people or the teachers who are going to teach these 3 to 8 years old, because they need different kinds of skills. So what we are working on is the breadth of skills for these teachers with different state governments and NCRT. So this has been the learning from COVID towards the foundational literacy and numeracy. In terms of the gaps which I see and what would I like fellow colleagues and collaborators to focus more on. So invest in bridging the gap, learning gap. That is the gap which has come after COVID for all the classes, but in particular for 3 to 8 years old, right? Imagine a child who was in Anganwadi and suddenly has reached grade 2. जिसको लिखना नहीं आता था, grade कौन सा है, वो अब 2 डंडे डाल के अपनी कक्षा लिखता है. So there, it's not just, it's such a big journey. I think most of the teachers who are here, they can understand the journey जिसने बच्चे ने travel नहीं किया और उसकी journey पूरी हो गई. So I think we need to focus more on bridging the learning gap. We also need to prepare, look at the FLN piece in context to education in emergency. If emergency like, so जैसे मेरे previous speaker ने बोला on resilience building. So for me, the greatest learning has been that as an organization, we need to contribute towards education in emergencies, especially in context to foundational literacy and numeracy. Ensuring all the children come safely back to school and Anganwadis. So 3 to 8 years are back into the system. Learning, second point hai, but ensuring they come back because they get food. Where we work, these are most marginalized children. They get 1 meal in school. They get 1 meal in Anganwadi. So we need to also ensure that they quickly come back to the system. And the most critical piece which is missing out of new education policies, responsive caregiving at home, means ensuring that parents also gets an opportunity to understand what their child is doing in Anganwadi or in school. So I think these are a few things which I would like to leave the audience and the organization with. Thank you so much. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ma'am Kamal Gaur. And now I invite Mr. Santosh Bhatt, founder Think Sharp Education Foundation, to share his thoughts.
Thank you, madam. I think not required. I'm 5'9", so probably. Acha. Okay. Good afternoon. I could able to see some of you are closing your eyes, so this happens after lunch. So if you want to take a 1 minute, just stand and just move. Maybe please. If not, I'm not forcing you, but it's been a 1 hour you are sitting constantly. Yes. If somebody wants to volunteer, and please go ahead. Because lunch was really nice. So okay, thank you. Now I'm sure everybody is सब जाग चुके हैं अभी. Good afternoon. I'm I think one of the youngest speaker here, and our organization is also one of the youngest working in rural Maharashtra. Think Sharp Foundation. So that name says, Acha Socho, Sharp Socho, Think Sharp. That's how that two words came together, Think Sharp Foundation. Started in 2011 when I was doing my full-time job in banking sector. Almost after 12 years of working in banking sector, I quit my job in December 2017, and now I'm full-time founder with Think Sharp Foundation, working with 150 government schools across rural Maharashtra. And recently, just on Saturday, we started our operation in Vapi, Gujarat. And let's see where we reach in another couple of years. But I'm sure the way we are growing and the way we are meeting with the new people, new partners, the sky is the limit. And definitely today I have decided that FLN will be the part of our project. Probably in another one of your event, probably you could also sign the MOU. Let's hope for that. So, yeah, well, this is the morning. So I took that. My mother, she's 55 plus. And whenever I meet her, she only says one thing in Marathi. जर मी शिकले असते तर मी इंदिरा गांधी सारखी बनू शकले असते किंवा I could have become a collector. But unfortunately, she could not attend the school. There were 5 siblings. Only one child who could attend the school, and now he became a collector. But she was always comparing with her brother that if I could have attended the school, I could have become the collector. Today, she knows all the Ramayana and Mahabharata, all the words, all the stories, all the meaning. But whenever somebody asks her to read or write one paragraph, उसके आंखों से आंसू आ जाते हैं. Because she cannot write and read. That's her unfortunate. And that's the reason she wanted me to go to the school, attend the school regularly, and be something. I think FLN is not about being something in career. आपको कुछ बनना है. FLN is about your dignity. कि आपको समाज में पढ़ना लिखना आता है तो एक अलग सी इज्जत होती है. I recently met one person who was talking English brilliantly. I mean, I'm sure he must be from Catholic family, and everybody was around him just to listen the English words because he was in a small village. And it was, I mean, I was impressed because trust me, जब मैं मुंबई आया 2005 में, I could not enter to the restaurant because I don't know how to place the order in English. So that guy came to the village and he started speaking English, and everybody around him ki English man aaya hai, English mein baat kar raha hai. And somebody asked him to write one paragraph, he could not write. So he's not literate. Even though he can speak fluent English, he's not literate. So literacy is not about what language you speak. Literacy about, can you write and read that language? Can you educate to others through your knowledge? And I think that is what everybody is doing here. Somebody is just 1 year organization old, somebody is 50 years old. Just imagine, from last 50 years after independence, we are constantly working on only literacy. Government aata hai, government jata hai, somebody, IS, IPS officer, they make their policies, that is their duty. Next government comes, वो चला जाता है, फिर again new policy comes. I think हम उसी policy में अटके हुए हैं सारे. किसी को बुरा या किसी को हम ये अच्छा नहीं कह रहे, but this is what I'm saying from ground, because we work directly with the kids. जब teachers हमें कुछ बताते हैं, जब बच्चे कुछ हमें बताते हैं, जब parents कुछ हमें बताते हैं, reality अलग होती है. Sitting here in Delhi, in posh offices, we prepare the policies considering no, India will literate by, or world will literate by 2030. Is it possible? हम दिल पे हाथ रख के बोलिए, is it possible? नहीं possible है, but we are trying. I think किसी ने सुबह एक खूबसूरत कहा था कि, मैडम ने कहा था शायद, कि हमें काम करना चाहिए, और हम सब कर रहे हैं. ठीक है, अगर हम 100% नहीं तो हम 70% पहुंच जाएंगे. और एक टारगेट करेंगे जो हम हर बार करते हैं कि इस न्यू ईयर से हम जिम लगाएंगे, बट वी डोंट गो टू द जिम, एंड देन अगेन न्यू ईयर रेजोल्यूशन कम, एंड देन वी मेक द रेजोल्यूशन, this year I will go to the gym. So maybe again we will make the resolution, will take another 5 years, but we will do it. और हमें जल्दी करना है. I think to make that happen, we need such programs. Because स्कूल में हम, जैसे मॉर्निंग में किसी ने कहा, 12 साल हम स्कूलिंग पूरी करते हैं. Ultimately, end of your 10th standard, if somebody asks to write one essay, और माँ बोलती है कि बेटा एप्लीकेशन लिख के दे, the child cannot write the application. That's the sad part. अगर बच्चों को हम पूछते हैं कि स्कूल क्यों जाता है, because I work in tribal area, they बोलते हैं खाना खाने के लिए जाते हैं. Nobody says कि हम पढ़ने के लिए जाते हैं. ये सच्चाई है ग्राउंड लेवल की, आपको माननी पड़ेगी. और हमें इस तरह से काम करना पड़ेगा कि 90 डेज भी फिर भी ज्यादा है, मैं तो कह रहा हूं. क्योंकि द वे वी आर वर्किंग, अभी हम काम कर रहे हैं यहाँ पे, प्रेम जी है प्रथम से, वो भी डिजिटल लिटरेसी पे काम कर रहे हैं, कंप्यूटर लिटरेसी पे काम कर रहे हैं. अगर बच्चा पढ़ेगा लिखेगा नहीं तो कंप्यूटर लिटरेट कब बनेगा? अभी हमने कंप्यूटर लिटरेसी प्रोग्राम शुरू किया. वी हैव प्रिपेयर्ड अ वंडरफुल करिकुलम, बट व्हाट इज द यूज ऑफ करिकुलम इफ दे कैन नॉट रीड एंड राइट? Even 8th standard student cannot write the single word from that computer literacy book which we created. If I ask him press the enter button, he only remembers, okay, keyboard pe this is the enter button, but he cannot write that enter word. This is the sad part. So we talk about 21st century skills. Yes, brilliant. Everybody is working on that. But I think indirectly or directly, we all are working on FLN. Somebody is directly working with FLN, somebody like us, we are not directly working with FLM, but we are providing all the required aids to make sure that FLM happens. So I'm really happy today to attend this event, because, most of the time we talk about international policies and frameworks, and that is good. But I think FLM is something, trust me, before I come to this summit, I searched the full meaning of the FLN. But literacy, that was something I was heard, financial literacy, computer literacy, numeracy, but the short form, I was not very sure what is that meaning of that part. So even I also need to educate myself. So I'll not take your much time. As I said, I don't have much to share, but it was just, I wanted to share the voices from that, what you call the last mile person, the last mile children. So somebody today, tomorrow, in future, we all work together to reach those children. We have a beautiful programs. Infosys has their certain programs. Pratham has their programs. Save the Children has their program. We have a different programs, but I think we all look at the children. I think that is our common vision, that is common objective. So I'm glad to part of this event. I'm glad that I got invited. Thank you, Ashish, for giving this opportunity. Thank you, ma'am, and wish you all the best. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Santosh Bhatt. And as you said, कि कोई भी काम को करने के लिए इनिशिएटिव लेने के लिए आप में वो जज्बा, आपने वो कर गुजरने का हौसला जरूर होना चाहिए. तो ऐसे सभी उन लोगों के लिए जो हमसे जुड़े हैं, जो बाहर भी, जो known and unknowingly, they are associated with this task of bringing about changes in the field of education, and wherever you are working with utmost sincerity and honesty, उनके लिए 2 लाइनें कहना चाहूंगी. कुछ कर गुजरने के लिए मौसम नहीं, मन चाहिए. कुछ कर गुजरने के लिए मौसम नहीं, मन चाहिए. साधन तो सभी जुट जाएंगे, बस संकल्प का धन चाहिए. So you really need to have that strong determination. And as I proceed ahead now, calling upon Ma'am Anushri Mishra, Director of Programs, Plan International, to share her thoughts.
Thank you, everyone. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to be here. So I have the double difficult task of speaking after such enlightened speakers and speaking after lunch. So hopefully you are now energized after all the body movement exercises we just did. And I'll continue. So I come from, I represent Plan International, the India chapter. And going by the brief I was given, I will focus here on what Plan in India does on education, and then specifically going on to the work we do on FLN. So just stop, Nishan, I'll tell you when to. So on Plan India, we have, we work under 5 areas. Our focus is on children, specifically on girls' rights. We work on education, health, nutrition, and livelihoods. And also a major thrust of our work is around child protection and relief during humanitarian and emergencies, and also building resilience during emergencies. So this is in under education, our work spans across from pre-primary to senior secondary education. Along with what Sir mentioned in the beginning, a major thrust is on continuous learning and also academic guidance and career guidance counseling, where we work with many of our children, our first generation learners, with limited or no opportunities for career or academic guidance counseling. So that's a major thrust of our work. Under senior secondary, our main focus is on ensuring that girls continue with their education and complete their education. Specifically in our work, we see that after class 8 and completion of the Right to Education Act, there is a huge number of dropouts. So our work focuses on linking these girls with NIOS, or ensuring that they go back to school and complete their education, which in turn again then helps in delaying, and preventing child marriage. Under the middle childhood, the elementary school, which also overcompasses with the 6 to 8 of the NEP, our main focus is on working with teachers, now also working with digital smart classrooms, ensuring that teaching is interactive, ensuring that children understand the concepts, they take home, and also an involvement of parents. Before COVID, our work under pre-primary was mainly around ensuring that all children, including those from the tribal areas where we work in, or those who are come from the disadvantaged families, are included in Anganwadi centers. A lot of our work centered on strengthening the early childhood education component of the Anganwadi center, teaching, conducting teaching training, Anganwadi training programs with Anganwadi workers, also strengthening the Anganwadi centers with a lot of teaching learning material. But I think some of our experience resonates with the Save the Children Fund the during the COVID pandemic. One of the things we found was that after the closure of Anganwadi centers, the group that was the worst affected were the children from the 3 to 6 years of age, where not only were the take-home rations compromised, as ma'am told, also said before me, but also there were absolutely no activities being implemented for this age group. While a number of activities, there were some digital or offline classes had started happening for those from 6 onwards. The 3 to 6 years were the most affected. The routine had lost. The parents did not understand what is the concept, why, क्यों पढ़ाना जरूरी है, क्यों कुछ करना जरूरी है, खेल खेल में भी पढ़ाना क्यों जरूरी है. So this was an area where we decided to focus on, and going with the focus on today's conference on FLN, I think I'll focus my presentation very briefly on FLN with parents, our work on FLN with parents. And maybe, Nishant, you can just show. So I have some 4 or 5 photos of the work that happened with the parents, and I just thought I'll share them as a, next you can just show. So what we worked on was that we looked at initially, to begin on a pilot scale, we chose Delhi, where we work in Hulambi Kalan, Dwarka, Uttam Nagar, many of the northeast, northwest settlement colonies, where the Anganwadi centers had closed overnight and there were no classes happening. We decided to engage with the parents. We conducted a short assessment. We talked to the Anganwadi teachers. We talked with the parents. We found out the need. Based on the need, we developed some learning material. All of it was mainly print learning aids, along with the parents based on the Nipun Bharat guidelines. We tested them and then we finalized the package. We first pilot tested this around on around 50 families, and based on the the efficacy, we finalized the package, and then we implemented it across 250 families during the COVID the first phase, and then intensified during the second phase. The package consists, so our program consisted of working with our field level staff. We have field level community volunteers. So we train the field level community volunteers on the importance of early childhood education, why, the growth development that happens during 6 years, the first 6 years of life, why there is a need for stimulation, and also help develop a timetable, a routine on each day on what has to be done. Then we also work the field level workers and our program managers. They worked with the parents. Also, a lot of sensitization work happened again with the parents around the importance of working with the children. And then we got all the parents on a weekly basis, and emphasis was also to include fathers, because majority of the fathers were also sitting at home because they were in informal jobs. Many of them had lost. So there was an opportunity which we have always looked at in our work of involving fathers. So we engaged also with the fathers. So weekly sessions happened with the parents, where these packages were introduced on what they have to do during the week. We gave them the print material. The print material was also accompanied by short videos which the parents could play on their mobiles, or the field worker could play. And then we also told them how to do and what was the purpose of it. The parents went back, and then the field workers went to all the selected families who were part of the program and ensured that the activities were happening. At least in the beginning 2 3 months, there was a lot of hand holding with the parents on how to conduct the classes, how to see. There were questions asked, and there were again each week when the parents came to take the new curriculum for the week, we also asked them about the feedback of what had happened. So based on that, it included all the 4 areas. It included socio-emotional development, there was cognitive skills, it looked at language. So there were, various chapters, and there was a curriculum. This was also accompanied by some, so each of these things was also accompanied by, it was a complete package which included some information on, key skills like kha gha or 1 2 3. It also included things around that, some knowledge or a story, and some play activities also. So the parents did it at home and they came back. So the results showed us after 8 or 9 months, the parents started, responding very favorably. Some of the feedback that we received was, पहले तो मेरा बच्चा इसी में रहता था, मोबाइल फोन ही देखता रहता था, अब वो करना चाहता है. And a major thing that happened was there was a shift. A mother who felt that just working with the child, she looked at it as a टाइम नहीं है मेरे पास, मैं कहाँ से लाऊंगी, बच्चों के साथ क्यों खेलना है. Suddenly mothers also started looking at the importance of engaging with the child, responsive, in stimulation, looking at the working with the child, and they were actively involved. So we also saw that the turnover at a center, the numbers who were coming also increased. There were a lot of mothers who were more excited. Yes, one of the challenges that we still are facing, and we are working on that, is to engage with fathers more. So though we are making efforts, the amount of mothers who come, number of mothers who come compared to the number of fathers who come is still less. So the number of fathers, there is definitely, we are looking at also having sessions in the night, or during their weekly offs on Sunday mainly, or Tuesdays when the factories are closed, they have their weekly offs to engage with the fathers more. So these were some of our learnings. But yes, the major learning was that this, as also ma'am said before me, this needs to continue, because then this is your foundation, or as we call the knee for involving parents and helping them engage with children's learning. Even if, many of them are not literate, or many of them may not be able to give the same level of stimulation, as probably they may not understand what is happening, but just to be involved, to be there, and also to respond ki homework kar liya, or what you have today. So these are some of the things. And now we are seeing that some of the parents whose children have now entered primary are more responsive than those, in other. So we are also in a stage of now formally assessing it, evaluating it, and maybe bringing out the study findings by the end of this year. So this is, basically our learnings from the work we did. And some of the recommendations are to strengthen the, one is to assess the, the Nipun Bharat guidelines, the FLN guidelines, as you also mentioned, what is happening at the ground level. It is something still new. There is still a lot of confusion on the role of the Anganwadis, on the role of the school, the pre-primary centers in the school, who is to do what, so there is a need for a formal assessment at the ground level on the role of different stakeholders, what is already happening, and where are the gaps. And the second is, as is also mentioned before me, is that look at the role of parents, and to strengthen the role of parents, especially right from 3 to 6 years, including more emphasis on the fathers, so that this is the foundation, and this will continue, because this parents also ensure the continuity in learning. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anushree ma'am. With that, we come to the closing of the session right now, the plenary session, with the speech. And as you all know, that any event or any work atmosphere, when it proceeds ahead with such a good leadership, with all the speakers that who attended and addressed all of us, definitely we are bound to attain that desired outcome that we have always dreamt for. So it's a great honor to have all the panelists who graced the stage and shared their thoughts at the summit. And there's a deep sense of appreciation by all of us that we would like to convey. And the commitment for this vision to enlive it and to further fulfill it together, we need to promise each other. And now is the time to felicitate all those who shared their thoughts with us and gave their gracious present for this summit here. I would now request Ma'am Dr. Sunita Gandhi to please do the honors of felicitating all our eminent speakers and guests who had come and shared their revolutionary thoughts for FLN. Ma'am, we would like to have your presence. Yeah, ma'am, we would, yeah, that is what I'm saying. So I would like to have you, ma'am, here on stage to felicitate them. First, can we clap for Mr. Tirumala Arohi for having graced this occasion here. Next, we have Ma'am Kamal Gaur, who is the Deputy Director, Programs Education. As ma'am said, it's not an organization, it's a movement, Save the Children. It was our privilege to host you, ma'am, and have you here at the discussion. May we now have Mr. Santosh Pad, founder, Think Sharp Foundation. Mr. Santosh Pad, founder, Think Sharp Foundation. May I now call upon Ma'am Anushree Mishra, Director of Programs, Plan International. As it is said, coming together is a beginning, keeping together is a progress, and working together is succeeding in life. So let us all work together. We now invite a few suggestions from all our eminent guests who are there seated either this side or that side of the stage. We would like to have your opinion, your views on this day one summit, anything that you would like to share with us today. Yeah, sure. I request the personnel here who can attend and give us a cordless mic. Cordless mic division here. We can even come down to you if you wish to share your thoughts from there, or you're most welcome to come on stage and share your thoughts from here.
Hello, my name is Sagar. I represent a media company. I have been listening to most of your presentation. It's wonderful. Anganwadi is a success to some extent, the national program. And Jagdish Gandhi, I know him since my childhood. He's a very great educationist. So what I am trying to say, that if we have a literacy center in all the districts where anyone can go at any age and get some sort of literacy, as one of our friends has spoken about literacy, and we have 697 districts and about 10,000 cities. And if these big companies like Infosys, Microsoft, they start establishing a literacy center in all the districts and in all the cities. So literacy is 100% you can achieve at any cost. And I don't think there is a GDP growth or something linked with this. Because if a girl is educated, 5 persons are automatically educated. Thank you very much. So literacy center is important.
Very well said, sir, and so aptly conveyed. May we now have Ma'am Aarti Jadeja. Also, ma'am, we would like to felicitate you also. Please, if we can have a few thoughts from you, and ma'am, we also need, can I request Roli ma'am to please do the honors of felicitating Ma'am Aarti Jadeja. Definitely, sir. We'll come back to you. Sure, sir. Sure. We would also request Ma'am Kavita Rana to please grace the stage once again, and we are highly obliged with your presence, Ma'am Aarti Jadeja and Ma'am Kavita Rana. Ladies and gentlemen, this morning we had Ma'am Dr. Payal Kanodia here with us. On her behalf, I would request Ms. Aishwarya Mahajan to receive the token gift from us as a part of felicitation. And now I request Archana, Ms. Archana, to please hand over the mics to. Yes, sir. We have Mr. Dr. V.K. Ananda Prabhu, Chairman, Indian Educational and Cultural Academy, to share his thoughts.
Galaxy of education is on the stage and off the stage. We have been chosen by the Almighty to educate the masses or the generations to come. And we had a very wonderful talks by the good speakers over here. It is said in our scriptures, the concern of a child is the concern of the responsibility of every adult. So the literacy, reading, writing, doing arithmetic are only the tools of education. The real education is already there in every child. As discussed earlier, even if they are illiterates, let there be a study circles where they can excavate and explore the great hidden treasure. And in the NEP, this is a time where India has the greatest culture in the world and the greatest curriculum in the world. Like if you take the Valmiki and Vedavyasa and other people, they've done a lot of work for the upliftment of the humanitarian society. That should be included in the curriculum, and let us have our Indianize our own Indian education to awaken the masses. And I really thank Mrs. Gandhi over here. Her father and mother have been committed, and she's doing, and her son also is doing. Let us also, the entire family members, work for the true education to be plugged out from the dormitory stage in the name of modernization. Instead of that, let us call it as Indianization of Indian education, where we can make even the robber like Ratnakar as Valmiki. It is quite possible. All that is needed is to identify our own self and march ahead towards the perfection. Whether we want it or not, the age will be eaten away by the time. The opportunities will be eaten away by the time. We are all born alone and we die alone, but we don't live alone. We need a society, we need a teacher, we need a student, we need a family, we need so many people. But all that outcome is only because of education. If education is good, the country is good. If education is good, society is good. If education is good, family is good. If education is good, life is good. Otherwise, what we are seeing today is different. Thank you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, very much, sir. And next, we have, uh, yeah, sure, sir, definitely. I have Dr. Sarvjit Dudeja here, who first approached me. We'll come back to you after him, sir, after he speaks. The consultant and advisor on science and technology. He's seated here with us. Invite you at that side.
So I would like to draw the attention of the house. The way you friend pointed out about the children, they can't read, write, and they are not good in understanding, and they are just chasing for food. Food is essential of our life. And I think something wrong with our teachers. We have to first teach our teachers how to deal with students. You might have seen so many videos, the way they are thrashing kids, children. It's a very unpardonable. Not only school kids, even our teachers are like a terrorist in university level also. So first we have to teach our teachers how to behave with students. That's my perception about this.
Namaste, everybody. Dr. Sunita Gandhi and Madam Kamal Gaur and all the other dignitaries on the stage and all the dignitaries of the stage. I'm Sasmita Mohanty, and I came all the way traveling from Kolhapur from Maharashtra. And why I'm sharing my thought here, because just 2 days back, there was a big program happening in Delhi, and there were 1,000 principals, out of which 100 principals, those they were given awards and things like that. But I chosen, though I was supposed to be receiving an award there, but I chosen to come here rather than going there because I thought that I would have some takeaway. And I'm associated with Dr. Gandhi from past so many years, from the time I'm heading and working in the Sanjay Ghodawat International School in Kolhapur. My students have participated in MUN virtually during the time of pandemic, and they have been appreciated and awarded. But then I never had a chance to physically meet and talk to her. So I'm so glad that I came here, I met, I spoke to you. And then I head the Kolhapur Sahodaya complex, and I have around 38 schools under me. And we have very good collaboration. When Madam Gaur was speaking, I was just thinking then how about collecting all these kindergarten teachers and developing our own pedagogy, because the difficulties varies from school to school. So if all of us would sit together and come out with whatever the common problems are there and finding the solutions and thinking something on those lines, I was thinking on that. It is a very good takeaway for me. Then I was very much impressed with Mr. Santosh, because we belong to same state, but this opportunity had not come. So when he started, because all my students, they keep talking about, Shark Tank and this and that. There are a lot of programs, lot of uh, uh, open house thought process which goes on. So it's very nice to meet you. Maybe I will talk to you. And I'm also happy to meet, I came to know about another person whom I would be meeting, that is maybe Mr. Pratham. I do not know Pratham Book House or something, but somebody told, but it would be an opportunity to meet because we belong to Maharashtra. So there is a lot of learning, and I'm highly impressed that, to come to know the way Dr. Gandhi is working, which is the biggest foundational problem the whole country is facing. If you ask me, I'm into education field from past 30 years. I'm very, very passionate about my own job, my own field. So it's really insightful for me to know that everybody are facing the same problem, but how do we solve it? And I was thinking that if Dr. Gandhi could take the initiative, and how you're going to different states like that, if you can come into Maharashtra and then organize workshop for all the teachers and share your pedagogy with everybody, training, maybe it would be helpful to so many kids and so many teachers. That's it. All the very best for your, the great task what you have undertaken. Thank you.
Any questions also, we request to please feel free to ask questions from our panelists here. They are a repository of very good thought processes, as you heard today. And also they're coming from places where they can make a big difference, So if you want to collaborate with any one of them, think about anything like that, please feel free to ask, right? Okay. दिल से बात करिए, मन से बात करिए, पूरी बात करिए, और हम लोग आगे बढ़ते रहें और काम को रियली में करें, क्योंकि अब रिटोरिक बात करने का टाइम खत्म हो गया है. हमें एक्चुअली बच्चों की सेवा करनी है और तुरंत करनी है. आई एम सो हैप्पी दैट मिस्टर एंड मिसेस Munjal are here from Ambala, and they're doing amazing work in Ambala with Tulsi Public School and so many other places that they're managing. They're doing work in the villages, in the slums. We've been associated for some time. Dr. Aarti Jadeja, we've been associated for some time. You, ma'am, somewhere or the other, we know so many people have mentioned, who've kind of been collaborating with us directly, indirectly. And I think that, we've now done enough of groundwork, I feel. We've done enough of creating possibility of people seeing that this is working. अब टाइम नहीं है कि उसको फिर 10 साल लेके उसको प्रूव करते रहें. 2014 में हमने शुरू किया था ये ग्लोबल ड्रीम लिटरेसी कैंपेन, और उसके पहले से मैंने किताबें दी हैं जो मैडम इम्प्लीमेंट कर रही हैं अपने यहाँ. मैं विदेश से आई थी, भारत वापस की भी भारत की सेवा करेंगे, वर्ल्ड बैंक में थी मैं. तो ये जो सेवा करने का पॉइंट है कि मुझे लगता है कि स्ट्रगल्स बहुत हैं यहाँ पर, लाइक इजी फ्लो कुछ भी नहीं है, राइट? तो लेकिन हमें वो लोग चाहिए जो कहेंगे चलो करते हैं, साथ चलते हैं, करते हैं, आगे बढ़ते हैं, इसको करना है, राइट? तो उससे मन मेरा जो है, मतलब आई फील कि हम सब लोग जुड़ के करें. जैसे आप लोग अपने स्कूलों के कॉन्टेक्स्ट में करें, एनजीओस के कॉन्टेक्स्ट में करें, आप अपने जैसे कि हमारे पास इन्फोसिस के सर आए हैं, निर्मला जी, सो वहां पे करें, लेकिन कैटालिटिक रोल प्ले करें. तो उसमें 2-3 चीजें इंपॉर्टेंट होती हैं. एक तो बहुत सारे प्रोजेक्ट्स कर ही रहे हैं, सब लोग बहुत अच्छा काम कर रहे हैं, इनोवेटिव काम कर रहे हैं, जैसे मैम ने बताया इधर, हमारे 2 प्लान इंडिया के एंड थिंक शार्प जी ने सर ने बताया. तो काम तो बहुत ज्यादा हो रहा है, लेकिन हम लोग सिनर्जाइज नहीं कर रहे हैं. तो पहली चीज की सिनर्जाइज करें, जैसे एक दूसरे का हाथ पकड़ के आगे बढ़ें, वो जरूरी है. क्योंकि अगर हम अपने आइसोलेशन में काम करते रहेंगे तो उससे रिजल्ट उतना अच्छा नहीं आएगा. सेकंड, लाइमलाइट में आना, क्योंकि अब टाइम आ गया कि भी हम पीछे नहीं हटना चाहते, हम ये लखनऊ में बैठ के अपना सोच रहे हैं अपने कमरे में और अपना टीम के साथ काम करें। आई वांट कि भी सब लोग को इसके बारे में पता चले, और हाथ जोड़ के हम सबसे रिक्वेस्ट करते हैं हमारे साथ चलिए और हम आगे कारवां बढ़ाते जाएं, सब लोग जुड़ते जाएं, क्योंकि अब हम वेट नहीं करना चाहते। ठीक है, सही है, थैंक यू सर।
My question to the panel,
जी
that-
प्लीज गो अहेड।
my question to the panel that the people's teacher ratio, which has been left out by madam, that is the targeted to 25:1. What's your impact on this? How it can be covered? Clause number 2.1 FNL. That is the target. Acha. So panelists, my question is correct. What is your impression? So my question is that.
हाँ
Sir, आपका question बिल्कुल सही है, and there are many challenges. There are many challenges, and I think government will have different challenges. The salary is the part. Budget needs to be approved for the teachers. और कुछ जगह पे तो ऐसा है कि अगर हमने रेशो पकड़ लिया 25:1, अभी आप मुझे बताइए कि एक ही स्कूल में है, हमारे महाराष्ट्र में बहुत सारे ऐसे स्कूल है जहाँ पे 2 क्लासरूम है और फर्स्ट स्टैंडर्ड से लेके 4th स्टैंडर्ड तक स्कूल चलती है। अभी उसमें है बच्चे 50। अभी एक ही स्कूल में एक क्लासरूम में बच्चे एक तरफ इस तरफ देखते दीवार के, वो फर्स्ट और सेकंड स्टैंडर्ड का स्कूल चालू है, और उसी रूम में बच्चे इस तरफ देख रहे हैं जिसमें 3rd का शुरू है। अभी आप कहोगे कि 25 और 1 होना चाहिए, बट ये भी गलत है कि आप नहीं, टारगेट है गवर्नमेंट का, and I think government is working tirelessly on that part, and I think every government want that all the जो empty teacher के जो भी रिक्त पद है वो सारे भर दिए जाए, but they have different challenges. But I trust that whether it's a Delhi government or Maharashtra government or any state, everybody wants to fulfill that ratio, and I think we should appreciate today or tomorrow it will happen. हर चीज में एक थोड़ा सा टाइम लगता है, but it will happen.
Madam, I have referred clause 2.3 of the Ministry of Education Policy. I am on behalf of E5 Ranchi. I am the research student there, researcher there, and this question on behalf of my
valid question, sir.
Sir, see, my point of view on that, sir, is whatever is the ratio is a ratio, but for each student they are by themselves. So we need to look at it. That's what I was saying even when I was talking. Whatever number is important is from the engagement perspective, interactions perspective, and everything. But if you are able to use all the collective efforts and look at each student as if they are only one, I think that is where we need to go. And for that, my personal view is whatever number, like 25:1 or 50:1, if you're using mechanisms where each teacher is able to still meet each and every candidate's need or every student's need, whatever it is, right? That solves the problem. And as Sir said, if your physical limitations in a classroom, you are saying one side is another class, that is okay. But if you're able to figure out saying with 2 teachers, I can still handle 1,000 students, let us say, but I know that I'm addressing each and everyone's need. I think that is where we need to go. So number is what it is, because you need to practice, you need to engage, you need to interact, you need to give them guidance, all of that. But we need to move away from that. And that is where I think organizations which are into foundations to try and make an impact, we will try and see what we can support them. No, it cannot be fixed, because as I said, my personal view is 1:25 may work in one context, 1:50 may work in another context, 1:2 may not even work in some context. So you need to plan for that.
That's a point.
You need to have some standard, absolutely.
Average आना चाहिए हमारा.
Okay. Okay, so
You can remember 25
Right.
students any point. Yeah.
achieve the number, standardized number of 25:1 or 30:1. That's a notional number. First thing is to have the access to quality education.
For
Everybody
every
should
child.
have access to school or any kind of education where they can achieve foundational literacy to start with, and then move on to the education journey and to the professional journey or the occupational vocational journey. If we cannot provide them access, we cannot reach any of these targets. So this is more critical. Second aspect is training of teachers. If our teachers are not trained to how to engage these children, how to provide these foundational literacy, how to teach them, we cannot achieve our targets. So first important is curriculum, access, and teachers. So these are the three-pronged strategy one should adapt. And government can make any policy until and unless there is no proper execution, you cannot achieve the policy. So most important thing is execution. Policy can be developed, but execution is very important. Third thing is everybody has to come collaborate to achieve the target, which is very enormous target in front of India because of number of children, because of the population. So we have to come together, work together to achieve the targets.
Yeah,
Okay,
I
fantastic.
think,
Okay, yes, please.
right.
Okay,
I
you want to-
agree with you. To just
want to say
answer
small
your
thing,
question, sir, I think 25:1 is a target meant for good, learning outcomes in children, to help those who are struggling, to help the teacher respond to those. But given our realities, I'm not saying it's impossible, but it may take time, given how our schools function in the rural area, especially the government schools. Some don't have, even senior secondary. There are requests from schools कि वहाँ पे building गिर रही है, वहाँ पानी नहीं है, वहाँ bathroom नहीं है. I think what, along with, in addition to all that was being said, to improve the learning outcomes, what we also need then to supplement it with other forms of support. Say, for example, जहाँ हम पढ़ाते हैं वहाँ बच्चों ट्यूशन बहुत सारे नहीं ले सकते, तो maybe having some community volunteers to help them with 3 subjects like math, science, English, key subjects, जहाँ at least उनको समझ आ रहा है in a smaller group, so that they can cope up better with the major class. So you need to look at digital technologies, you need to look at things which will supplementary learning efforts. You need to improve, like ma'am said, on improve access to quality education. The main purpose behind improving the learning outcomes in those who are unable to, probably where the teacher is unable to give attention, or they're unable to understand what's happening in the class.
Okay, thank you for these perspectives. I just want to throw in mine. You've opened a can of worms, sir. Actually, we are all about inputs, and I think we have to think vastly differently, dramatically differently to the present. When we talk about access, before the COVID, we had very good access. Now, after the COVID also, I think the districts are really trying hard that no child is left behind. There will be some children, the migrant children, there'll be some children who are not able to really be in a regular school for special needs or some other reasons. But let's say that there's some more effort remaining in that area. Access is critical, obviously. They don't come to school, nothing happens. But who's going to keep them in school? The problem is that they're coming to school and they're finding that the teachers are harsh, the teachers are beating them up, the teachers are not teaching. There is a slew of problems related to teacher-led classrooms. In the morning session, as I shared with you my thoughts, we need to do away with the teacher expertise factor. We don't need teacher experts. We need teachers who are empathetic, kind to the children, who are motivating of every child. We need to have methodologies that don't require the teacher. Why do we need their expertise? We don't. We need their empathies. And they need to create a classroom, like we discussed, where children are paired up, where your material is not designed for the teacher to read out to the children or explain to the children. Why do we need the teacher, the interlocutor? Why can't the children learn by themselves? They have the God-given logic. If monkeys can learn in experimental work, chimpanzees can learn, and pigeons can learn, B.F. Skinner, so why can't the children learn? They are capable of learning by their own logic. And this is where our experimental work has been very critical. We've been working in the context of a large school in Lucknow. We've been working in slums and villages all these years. We are trying to finesse a methodology that shows that children, A, are capable of learning by themselves, B, that they are enjoying when they're learning by themselves, so the attendance is going up. See, they're learning in an explosionary way compared to the past. Like, they're not just learning, they're learning 10 times, 20 times more. Meaning in 3 months, they're becoming completely foundationally literate and numerate. 5-year-olds are reading newspapers. Now, who would have thought that that's even possible? And how can I say, as an educator with 60,000 children in my school system, how can I say this? I can say this because we have done the work. There's Aarti Jadeja here. There are a lot of people who, maybe here who have, we have from Ayodhya, madam, So you can see that the work is, the new methodologies have to be there, because the teacher cannot be the factor who's gonna bring about the change. You keep teaching the teacher, you keep training her up, you keep making her a better expert. That expertise, A, is going to waste even if she has it. You see, the government school teachers are better trained. They are more qualified than the private school teachers. The macro climate is different. Teachers are bored. And research shows when children are bored, when teachers are bored, there's no learning. So you cannot keep fixing that old system. It's like the old landline phone. It just is going to produce an incremental impact. Nicer look, slimmer phones, maybe, a little bit better quality of the phone, but it is the old landline system. We need to get rid of that system if you're going to have any real impact. So what will the smart technology of education look like? And I think this is where experiment has been. So basically we're saying, don't teach the letters of the alphabet. 1.5 साल बच्चों का निकल जाता है आ ई का खा गा गा करने में, 2 साल निकल जाते हैं. उसके बाद भी उनसे पूछो कि बेटा इसमें से जरा कापा निकाल दो, तो नहीं निकाल पाते. राइट? सो ये नहीं वर्क कर रहा है. क्यों हम उसको बार बार एक फेल्ड एजुकेशन को सपोर्ट करें कि बेटर एक्सपर्टीज दे दो टीचर्स को? नहीं जरूरत है. उनको बोलिए कि आप एम्पैथेटिक बने, आप बच्चों को जोड़ में बिठाएं, आप बच्चों को उनके लिए सामग्री इकट्ठा करें जो आसपास या बच्चों से निकलवा के घर से लाएं, अखबार से निकालें, इससे करें, वो करें, लेके आए. बिल्कुल जीरो कॉस्ट, लो कॉस्ट, जीरो कॉस्ट, नॉट इवन लो कॉस्ट, जीरो कॉस्ट. Things that are in the home, in the environment, वो लेके आए और बच्चे लोग खुद क्वेश्चंस बनाएं, बच्चे लोग खुद लर्निंग करें. लेकिन उसके लिए सामग्री चाहिए. जो हम लोगों ने देखा कि उसके अंदर हम वो मॉड्यूलर स्ट्रक्चर जो बनाया है, जो बच्चे खुद समझ सकते हैं. जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल ऑर्डिनल नंबर्स, तो बच्चे खुद समझ सकते हैं. फर्स्ट, सेकंड, थर्ड, वो उसमें विजुअल में बना हुआ है. वो एक दूसरे को समझाएंगे कि देखो फर्स्ट है, ये सेकंड है. बच्चे एक दूसरे को समझा के सीख जाते हैं, पूरा सीख जाते हैं. ग्रेड 3 तक तो सबसे मुश्किल होता है छोटे बच्चों को सिखाना सेल्फ लर्निंग के थ्रू. ये हम लोगों ने करके दिखा दिया है. बड़े बच्चे तो खुद ही समझ जाते हैं, वो खुद पढ़ सकते हैं. उनकी अपनी लॉजिक हम लोग क्यों नहीं यूटिलाइज करते? दे हैव सो मच मोर फन. Secondly, when we are talking about, and NEP is talking about the idea of building these 21st century skills, collaboration, communication, creativity, critical thinking, वो सारे हो रहे हैं इसमें. सारे के सारे. The form is 95% of the time teacher should be not facing the children like this. Children should not be facing the teacher like this. They should be facing each other, interacting with each other, working. 5% of the time teacher comes in when the modules are done, say 3 or 5 modules, we modularize the whole thing. I can do such and such. So each objective is modularized, and the children can learn by themselves. After that, they come in and say, okay, everybody tell me, and ask the most difficult questions, the HOTS questions. Ask the most horrendously difficult, ask them to read newspaper. And these kids are going to show you what's possible. And I'd like to invite everyone to take up the 90-day challenge. Just 90 days, that's all. You need to give us 90 instructional days. Does not include chuttis. Even chuttis include period, 2 महीने में वो आपको करके दे देंगे. But हम लोग believe नहीं करेंगे, A, जब तक हम करेंगे नहीं, B, A प्रायोरी बिलीव करना बहुत ही मुश्किल होता है. जैसे कुछ लोगों ने किया, मालदीव्स, पूरा देश मालदीव्स का इस प्रणाली को अब अपना रहा है. उनका MOU साइन हुआ, उनके प्रिंसिपल्स को ट्रेनिंग दी, अब हम पूरे देश में इसको इंप्लीमेंट कर रहे हैं. अभी लास्ट वीक उनकी रिक्वेस्ट आई कि गवर्नमेंट स्कूल सारे करने के अलावा प्राइवेट स्कूल भी कर दीजिए मालदीव्स में. तो पॉइंट ये है कि हमें वो फेथ चाहिए अब. एंड वी हैव टू मूव फॉरवर्ड विद फेथ. वी हैव टू मेक द लीप ऑफ फेथ दैट मदर बर्ड दैट throws this baby bird off the cliff in the hope that this baby will fly. The baby bird will fly. We need that kind of faith. Faith will move the mountains. We need to move with more certainty in those new directions. Old directions, कितना भी आप fix करते जाएंगे, आपको incremental impact मिलेगा, paradigm shift नहीं मिलेगी. And that's why आज की theme है paradigm shift. कल की theme है paradigm shift. What does paradigm shift mean? Not doing the business in the same old way. It means also design thinking, a different kind of design thinking, different kind of principles at play, a different kind of mindset with which it's created, going back to the drawing board and rewriting how education should be done. Old education, फेल कर गई है, कितना भी हम कह लें, पूरे वर्ल्ड में फेल कर गई है। इसीलिए बहुत जल्दी ये चीज स्प्रेड हो रही है। प्लीज आरती जी, गो अहेड एंड देन मैम यू।
Okay. Sunita ji, what you're saying, I'm doing it every day, and that's why I can completely identify with what you're doing. For 22 years, every day at our school is a new day. We work with the development of the child and what the child wants to do and what the child wants to learn. So whether they are less children or they're more children, we're learning. I'll just give you a small example of something like hand washing, which we all had to do during pandemic. There was no reading. So we got children to bring soap from home, liquid, solid, washing soap, everything. We read from there. Children were reading. It enhanced their reading, which was lapsing, and spellings came in. They knew maths. It's the way you do it in the Global Me. And it went so huge, it went on so deep that all subjects we've done from that, whether it's SST, whether it's science, whether it's maths, English, Hindi, सब कुछ आ गया from a packet of soap.
अगर आप लोग पीछे हट जाए ना टीचर लोग, तो ये सब कमाल होगा। टीचर लोग बीच में आते हैं, रोक देते हैं लर्निंग को।
हाँ, so ये जो है, जो चीज आप कर रहे हैं, जो आपका क्लास 2 का बच्चा जो पढ़ रहा है, वो शायद दूसरे स्कूल में, दूसरे स्टेट में, कहीं भी क्लास 6 का बच्चा ये कर रहा है. So there's stagnation in that book. So if it's out of the box and out of the book, you can take children a long way. And there the ratio comes in, sir. We do one-on-one. Whether it's 100 children together, we do one-on-one with the child. The child is able to speak. The child is making eye contact, and the teacher does not pour into the child. Not one to one. Not one to one. When we are working
not
together.
Not one teacher to one child.
Like, aren't we all doing 1:1? Each one is having a
children.
thought process. Each one has an opinion, and we are sharing and we are interacting. This is lacking in our schools. It's a one-sided model which has to be.
Yeah,
Now,
teacher
it has
lecturing to the
get
children has to
over.
go.
Yes.
Right. See, one thing more I want to say just quickly, that the ratio की जब बात हो रही है, इनका 1:100 भी हो जाए, one teacher to 100 children, it will not matter at all. Because she has to unleash a new process. In fact, less teacher factor is better than a high teacher factor. Secondly, जो पैसे बचेंगे, जब आप जैसे 25 का रेशियो की बात हो रही है, 40 बच्चे, 50 बच्चे, जितने भी बच्चे हैं क्लासरूम में, सबको पढ़ाना है, कितनी भी मिक्स है, सबको पढ़ाना है. Everybody has to be paid attention. Everybody has to grow. So, in fact, we'll save a lot of money, and that money should be put into technology. Right now, the children need the interactive whiteboards, or we have these Android projectors, which are a fraction of the cost of an interactive whiteboard, doing almost the same thing. 25,000 rupees, you get this thing into a classroom or into a school, and also any kind of device or in connectivity is going to explode learning. Give it in their hands, they're going to create learning. So वो पैसा बचा के जो टीचरों को हम दे रहे हैं, इतनी बड़ी-बड़ी तनख्वाहें, और करते क्या है टीचर्स ये? Sorry, I'm coming from a school where we pay the best salaries. We pay 7th pay commission and now the new salary plus more. So our junior grade teachers getting 70,000 rupees. Okay, so we are paying very good salaries. But you have to constantly motivate the teacher. You have to constantly bug them. You have to have all these supervision systems going into the classroom, surprise visits and this and that. The climate in the class, I mean, it's not working. It's just not working. The old system is not motivating the teacher, not motivating the child. Here, when they see the success of the children, they're super motivated. I mean, you should hear the video, you saw Shamli video, you heard the teachers of Shamli, one of the least literate districts of the country, and how they are endorsing this because they're seeing the joy. सिर्फ पता ही नहीं लगता दिन कैसे चलाता है, आपने सुना होगा, दिन ऐसे निकल जाता है पता ही नहीं लगता, सुना था ना आज आपने. तो ये टीचर्स हैं ये टीचर्स जो वही टीचर्स हैं जो कि गवर्नमेंट स्कूल में बिल्कुल बोर हो गए हैं, नहीं पढ़ाने का मन है उनका, रोज जाने में मन नहीं करता, इसे घर पे बैठते हैं कई दिन. चलिए, sorry about that long conversation, but I was feeling I need to challenge the old. We cannot continue into the future with the old, and little bit change here, little bit change there. It's not working. It won't work.
Good evening. We need teachers, we need teachers, we need teachers, and we need quality teachers. We don't need the teachers who are just lecturing in the class or just giving the way of teaching is just lecturing method. We need to teach pedagogy, we need to change. The way to think is we need to correct our teacher education system. It is only on rote learning. Half of the teachers who are into the BS and the teaching colleges, they don't even attend their teaching education. They don't even go there, and you expect them to go and teach in the school? No, they cannot. So it has to be changed how they teach it. So teacher role has changed. Teacher is not just giving the knowledge. Knowledge is everywhere. Student can just put a click on the internet and can find so much knowledge, so much activity. But teacher role is to facilitate learning, engage students and motivate them to learn by themselves. So that is the role of teacher. So we need to change the role of teacher. We need to prepare teacher how to teach, engage, and motivate the learners of future, not just to stand in front of them and teach the lectures.
So I just don't want to get into the debate of one teacher, 10 teachers, 20 teachers, but I would like to give you other side of it. You said 1:25. बहुत बिल्कुल ठीक रेशो है, लेकिन अगर आप ट्राइबल एरिया में जाएं तो वही 2 टीचर के साथ में 10 बच्चे भी होते हैं, है ना? तो वो क्या सरकार, अगर मैं सरकार की तरफ से सोच रही हूँ, अगर सरकार वो नॉर्म लगा दे तो वो स्कूल बंद, अगर वो स्कूल बंद तो बच्चों का राशन बंद, अगर वो राशन बंद तो उनको एक खाने टाइम का खाना नहीं, एक्सेस टू एजुकेशन नहीं। तो ये जो नॉर्म्स हैं ये रिकमेंडेटरी नॉर्म्स होते हैं, सरकार रिकमेंड करती है, these are not mandatory norms, right? So there are certain things which are recommendatory in nature, certain things which are mandatory in nature. So that's my perspective. Second piece about, I do value the continuous professional development of teachers, but whether it has to be content based or pedagogy based, that needs to be debated in different contexts, but definitely they need to be trained, but they need to be trained differently. They need to be trained on socio-emotional learning. They need to be trained on playway methods. They need to be trained on how to assess and evaluate children. That doesn't happen. जब training होती है तो normally content based training होती है. Maths में क्या करना है, जोड़ने घटाने के नए तरीके बताने, पर क्या बच्चा, जैसे इन्होंने भी एक example दिया, pair method से सीख सकता है क्या? वो मैथ्स भी सीख सकता है, लैंग्वेज भी सीख सकता है। अगर रीडिंग बडीज होते हैं तो वो रीडिंग बडीज जस्ट रीड नहीं करना जानते हैं, एक दूसरे के एक्सपीरियंस के साथ होमवर्क भी करते हैं, एक दूसरे के एक्सपीरियंस के साथ मैथ्स भी सीख लेते हैं, एक दूसरे के एक्सपीरियंस के साथ में काउंसलिंग भी हो जाती है। सो देयर आर मल्टीपल वेज multiple ways in which teacher can be trained. So maybe we need to rethink and think differently about the teachers' capacity building or continuous professional development of teacher, not in a very routine structured way, but definitely we need to rethink. Thank you.
I want to take, yeah, please. 10 children, definitely it will not be closed.
COVID के बाद ही राजस्थान में around 5200 school close हो गए, है ना? अभी थोड़ा झारखंड में भी यही सिस्टम चल रहा है, तो सरकार तो क्लोज कर रही है ना?
That could be some other reason, not because there are 10 children.
बोलते हैं कि PTR कम है, इसका मतलब बच्चों का एक्सेस कम है।
हाँ, schools are merged.
हाँ, नहीं वो टर्मिनोलॉजी है, पर
no, but even in Delhi we are merging
merge का मतलब ये हुआ,
that is based on the result analysis.
पहले अगर 4 किलोमीटर के अंदर 2 स्कूल थे, अब 4 किलोमीटर के अंदर 1 स्कूल है। वो सोचिए 6 साल का बच्चा पहले 2 किलोमीटर चलता था, अब वो 4 किलोमीटर चल के आएगा। मर्जिंग का मतलब ये हुआ। सो आई थिंक कभी-कभी PTR के बारे में बात ना करना बेहतर है।
I have to differ on that point because PTR NEP ने recommend किया है 25:1. That is to reduce the number of children being under the care of one teacher.
कि कहीं-कहीं अगर ऐसा होता है, जब पता लगता है कि इस इलाके में टोटल इस गांव के अंदर 10 बच्चे पढ़ रहे हैं और 2 मास्टर डेप्यूट हो रखे हैं, बोले क्या जरूरत है, 10 को दूसरे स्कूल में भेज दो। एक वो सोच है। दूसरा, हमने बहुत सारे स्कूल ऐसे भी देखे, से फॉर एग्जाम्पल हम असम का एग्जाम्पल लेते हैं, वहां पे भाषा में हिंदी है, अंग्रेजी है, उर्दू है, अहमिया है, और अगर कोई लोकल और लैंग्वेज हुई
तो वो है 4 language मतलब आपका एक English teacher can't teach those 4 languages, right? So you need 4 language teachers. Then you have games teacher, then you have science, maths, whatever. So in one school, there are 100 teachers, but 25 teachers. 25 children. तो एक बार ये जो इकोनॉमिस्ट ने कैलकुलेट करके बताया और वो सेक्रेटरी एजुकेशन के सामने असम में प्रेजेंट कर रहे थे, तो उन्होंने बोला भैया बताओ मैं क्या करूं, मेरे को तो अहमिया भी चाहिए, मेरे को उर्दू भी चाहिए, मेरे को इंग्लिश भी चाहिए, मेरे को हिंदी भी चाहिए. So sometimes what I'm saying is it's sometimes good not to talk about PTR. That's what I'm saying, ma'am.
I have a different take on it.
Okay, good evening, everyone. The word synergy summit and paradigm shift really pulled me to come all the way from South India.
Oh, wow.
Today, 3 hours, I got stuck in the train in the morning with late delay, but I'm so happy to meet all of you here. I want to congratulate Dr. Sunita and team for bringing for this lively discussion. So I'm sure like many times we don't even come together to discuss, debate, that opportunity is not there. The reality, what we need to accept is UNESCO released one report, 2020, more than 1.1 lakh schools are single teacher entities. If we had to achieve any vision, the way we are sitting and debating for advocating, FLN, we need definitely a lot of human resources at the grassroots for children. It's very important. So when you say a patient without a doctor, because I also come from a public health background, a patient without a doctor definitely, what's the status? The same way a teacher without a child. I work a lot, especially with the marginalized communities over 2 decades. I co-founded Ignis Careers. It's a social enterprise. Soon after moving out from JNU, the call for me, I felt that working with the marginalized communities, looking at quality education, access to quality education as a pill for them to improve the quality of life. So working with the teachers communities, those who are working with the children at the marginalized communities, if you look at it, they also come from the similar cycle, who lacked all these opportunities to look at education from a different angle or to learn from a different angle. So I agree totally with ma'am saying that you need definitely capacity building of teachers, because unless we build that army, you cannot change or transform the lives at the bottom. That's very true. And one more thing I would like to say here is from the context of foundation literacy. I recalled a famous poet, Thiruvalluvar. If you know, some of you are South India, if you know, this person says, "Katrathu kaiman alavu, kalladadu ulagalavu." Anybody Tamil people sitting here? No. So it means that what one knows is only a handful, whereas the unknown is the size of the world. So it's a lifelong learning. That is what NEP is also saying. So this person wrote this poem in a small palm leaf, engraved it almost 2000 years ago. So because he was literate, and that knowledge is being transferred to us, and we are enjoying that knowledge. So foundation literacy is very, very crucial. Without that, you cannot, it's like building a building without any foundation will collapse. So one thing I would like to say here, it is not for when you're working with the marginalized communities, we saw during the COVID, the survival needs, even now somebody was saying survival needs, many of us are surviving, but education is the only way thriving needs are met, growing. And for that, definitely the teachers play a very important role to feed how the parents are feeding the hunger of the child for survival needs. The teacher play a very important role. But here, what we need is a shift in teaching them how to use technology. Many of them do not even know how to hold a mouse. Technologically, they're illiterate. In 21st century, we see a handful of elite, using all kinds of gadgets, and that is absolutely not accessible at the bottom. And in my experience, I've personally mentored more than 3,000 teachers who are not qualified or anything. When you work with the low-income schools, they are all just 10th failed or 12th failed, but they have the zeal to learn. They want to learn something to make difference. Many women teachers personally I work with, and because to supplement the livelihood of the family, they take up the teaching profession. It's not out of once you start partnering with them, teaching them what is the purpose of learning with purpose, teaching with joy, teaching with the innovations. When you say that, and they automatically feel that zeal to do it, and one teacher empowered the whole, the class after the class, what she's going to empower. That is what I've experienced with the 3,000 teachers community I've worked with closely personally. So one recommendation I would like to give is, if I said Katrathu Kaimannalavu, Kalladhathu Ulagalavu, not anybody can understand. If she is going to speak in Marathi, if he is going to speak in Odia, I'm sure it's not going to. So we devised a curriculum, because I'm a first generation learner. Trust me, even my undergraduation, though I studied in best of the college, Women's Christian College, I'm a first generation learner. I could not even speak one sentence in English till my graduation. So what we have done is a very looking at English as a language for mobility. So as a foundation literacy, that was our experience. So looking at children, how they can acquire the language and they can move forward. So this is what our experience working with farmers community and all that, where they lag behind, or early child marriage was happening, because after 10 the girl children were not appreciated to go out of the village to study more. But once we bridge the gap, I could proudly say, with the Lambada tribal communities, we worked in Khammam region called Banapuram. After 7 generation, 4 girl engineers emerged, and they become a model for them to motivate generation after generation. So access to quality education, definitely, it's very important at the bottom. Rethinking the model of training the teachers. A lot of diet institutes are dying down. There are no facilities, and definitely it's not just one point. Lot of states are still struggling with appointing quality teachers for the people at the bottom. So fulfilling those needs, advocacy, towards that direction also is very important. And yes, foundation literacy is important, numeracy is important. What next for these children? To at least to cross the barrier up to class 10, and acquiring the skills of 21st century, what you're saying, communication, collaboration, creative thinking, critical thinking. Because I stand here as an example. My mother was a farm laborer, my father was a painter in railways. Fortunately, he had a job in central government. But I kind of, we started that initiative with 140 children to work with more than 3 lakhs children, and we saw that English as a skill of mobility, it really helped them. And digital literacy also is a very, very important thing which we need to create access. I'll be very happy to collaborate and take your journey, your dream in the South India. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
कंपेनियन ऑफ विजडम। मैंने अभी सुना और मैं सबको सुन रहा था, शुरुआत से ही मैं था। और सबसे पहले मैं धन्यवाद देना चाहता हूँ मैं गांधी मैडम को, जो गेटी के माध्यम से मैं एज ए मोटिवेशनल स्पीकर आया था, और मैंने उसमें वुमेन एम्पावरमेंट पर बोला था। हाँ, वुमेन एम्पावरमेंट पर बोला था, तो बहुत लोगों ने बहुत ही सराहनीय ये सब किया था। तो मैं बहुत ही ये सौभाग्य प्राप्त है मुझे कि मैं ये कहना चाहता हूँ कि मैम का जो संस्था है अपने चल रहा, वर्ल्ड वाइड चल रहा है, जैसे यूपी में चल रहा। मैम, मैं कहूँगा जो आप बिहार में भी आए, क्योंकि बिहार में बहुत सारे प्रतिभा ऐसे हैं। मैं भी बिहार से हूँ। मुझे बहुत लोगों ने बोलता था तुम क्या करोगे आगे जा करके। तो मैं इस मंच से यह भी कहना चाह रहा हूँ, आप लोग सबको सुने, और ये चीज कहना चाहता हूँ, जो मेरा लैंड जो है, मेरा जमीन जो है, गौतम बुद्ध की जमीन से मैं आता हूँ। और सबसे पहली बात तो वहाँ नालंदा यूनिवर्सिटी है, आपका सबको जानते होंगे, बहुत पुरानी यूनिवर्सिटी है, वहां से मैं आता हूँ। और ऐसी प्रतिभा है वहां पर, जैसे मखाना हो गया जो वर्ल्ड फेमस है आपका, जिसको फोक्स नट्स भी कहते हैं। लेकिन प्रतिभा रहने से काम नहीं चलेगा, अगर उसको आप लोग उभारोगे, जैसे आप लोग उसको जानोगे, जैसे मिथिला पेंटिंग हो गया, आप जानते होगे, जो कहीं भी आप देखते होगे मिथिला पेंटिंग का, सब जगह वहां पर जो है प्रतिभा है, लेकिन उन लोग को मतलब जो नेग्लेक्ट किया जाता है बहुत सारी जगह, जो हम जाते भी हैं फिर भी हम लोग उन लोग को पैसा मतलब ये चीज नहीं मिल पाता। प्रतिभा को उभारने की जरूरत है। मैंने 108 बच्चे को मैंने एजुकेशन दिया, फ्री ऑफ कॉस्ट एजुकेशन दिया, जो कि वो लोग स्नैच करते थे, मतलब चोरी ये सब करते थे। फिर भी मैंने उनको ये चीज कहा कि नहीं आप लोग आइए, मैं आप लोग को पढ़ाऊंगा। तो वो बोले सर आप कैसे पढ़ाओगे, मैं बिजनेसमैन भी, खुद ही मखाना का बिजनेस करता हूँ। लेकिन मैं ये कहना चाहता हूँ कि जो भी यहाँ पर भी आए हुए हैं, कुछ आकर के बिहार में भी अपना जो है आप लोग इन्वेस्ट कीजिए, चाहे वो जो होता है फंडिंग जैसे करके, और जो आगे बढ़ाने का, क्योंकि बिहार भी एक हम लोग का एक राज्य है, और हम लोग राज्य के साथ हम लोग आगे बढ़ेंगे तो इसी प्रकार से देश बढ़ेगा, देश बढ़ेगा तो दुनिया जाएगी, दुनिया जाएगी तो सबको प्रेज करेगा। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
Good afternoon. I have a question for the panel. We are talking about creating a paradigm shift and transformational change, or political will is, if there's political will, then, often the biggest transformation has come from that. My question to the panel is that, and it was again very good to see Rajnath ji and as a senior politician advocating for literacy. And even at the national level, we are seeing a lot of political will for FLN, etc. But my question to the panel is, as civil society organizations, how can we create political will at the more local level? Jaise Parshad ho gaye, or the district level politicians, right? How do we make literacy as a burning election issue on which people can vote? Do NGOs have a role in that? So if there are any thoughts from the panel on this, please.
Quite impulsive about it. If you empower children, definitely, if they make accountable, they make all these politicians accountable, I think journey is sorted. So you need to empower children. You need to make their voice, provide them certain platforms so that they can raise their voice, they can demand. So I think we need to ensure that demand side is secure. So nobody better than children. And this is, that's what Save the Children does. Our children ask. So in one of the meetings, and one of the kid, there were 10 children. So one of the child, she asked, "अच्छा बेटा बड़े होके क्या बनना चाहते हो?" बोलते, "मैम मैं आपकी कुर्सी लेना चाहती हूँ." She said, I mean, so the way they speak, I mean, they don't mince their words. They are straight. If you educate them, if you work with them and ensure that they start demanding, I think work is sorted. So that's why I said 3 to 6 years old, they don't have votes. I mean, they don't make voting sense. So if children start making voting sense, then probably job will be done. Thank you.
I agree, and I would also go back, not only at the district level, but right from the local self-government involving the panchayat. And it's always, even in our experience, we've seen that children, their first-hand stories and their own actions bring about the change.
One thing I will say is, right now we involve the local politicians in a different way, because बच्चे पढ़ेंगे, वो educate हो गए, वो empower करेंगे, we have a time. हम अभी ये करते हैं कि how they will get benefit if they involve in the current process, because every MLA, MP, whoever, they need certain benefit through the different activities they are doing. So we involve them in education activity, because एजुकेशन एक एक्टिविटी ऐसी है कि वो सदियों तक उनके जो orders है उनके दिमाग में रहेगी. So why not involve them in such activities to make sure that what they want, they just want their picture to be pasted on some event, that is okay. If they are participating in an event and helping us, so that's how we are involving them into our various initiatives, and it is really helping, trust me. They want to build their good image nowadays.
थोड़ा system strengthening की बात होती है, मतलब this is one-to-one kind of an example. What I was saying, what I said was providing children a platform. I think our job is done. So we need to provide children. हमारे घर में भी आपके मेरे बच्चे या आपके बच्चे वो डिसाइड करते हैं कि हमको क्या खाना खाना है ना, तो कौन सा टीवी चैनल देखना या कहाँ छुट्टी मनाने जाए. तो अगर वो पढ़े लिखे सो कॉल्ड माँ बाप को गाइड कर सकते हैं, तो मुझे लगता है कि if you empower children, I think things are sorted. We have seen children demanding from their ward counselor that I don't have light in my corridor. I need light. Residential schools, girls have decided to reach out to, n number of level. Okay, my teacher is not listening, my principal is not listening, then what is the next step? They're right. So I think we need to talk about certain sort of institutionalization of grievance redressal mechanisms, if I can put that word, it's a big word, into schools. Say simple things. Put a suggestion box. Do a code of conduct for school. And you will find so many localized solutions and questions. I think we need to raise voice. And voice, I think children are the best ambassador to raise anything. They can create change, they can make change, they can shift the system. So focus on children and focus on children at different stages. So age 3 onwards, age 0 onwards, early stimulation, working with parents who have children from 0 to 3 years old, because holding a baby is not just it's not just for feeding. Holding a baby is for language development. When you start talking to a child babbles. It doesn't mean child is not reacting. It means child is grabbing or, collecting all the voices and sounds. That's the early literacy, right? So I think focusing on child is the best solution. Sorry, sir.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. And I think in some of our school, we have a ministry, in fact. And they know what minister does what work. And I have seen that in one of our school, they reach out to the MLA because this is your duty, because we are performing that duty in school. So why not you are doing? So yes, there are certain different ways to address those questions.
I just, hi, Devashish here from Renaissance, London, UK. And I just want to express my gratitude for this kind of event. DIT UK, DIT London is also having a cross check on what we can do in FLN. DIT London, DIT UK, all are together with this foundation literacy. And we also are facing the similar issue with MTI, basically mother tongue interface or the digital literacy, or even non-native speakers. We also are facing the same problem all over the world. And we would like to extend the best possible solutions that we have, from digital reading solutions to world-class universal screening assessments that are required just to check what is your child's reading level. I know it's a second step, not the foundation step. All are there at a grassroots level, but something for progressive schools where reading ability, reading challenge, reading readiness is not there. Our international solutions, or the solutions which are designed for non-native speakers all over the world. In fact, the Middle East is facing the same problem. They have so many nationalities. They also face the similar foundational literacy issue, or same aspect. So just want to say the Renaissance has the solutions. They can also provide good help, and we are there for every kind of support, from foundation in numeracy and literacy in all the grades. So yeah, just want to say, just would like to collaborate with the whole voice that coming together. No debate. I am just on, and I'm just totally with this motive. So just wants to collaborate and give my gratitude with the services that we provide. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. This is, yeah, I think one is yours.
Thank you, everybody. But before we part, there's another small request that on the screen, you'll be seeing a QR code. And we request you to scan the QR code and give us some feedback, share your thoughts as per your interaction with us, with others here in this forum.
Yes, thank you.
Otherwise, we'll try and share this over WhatsApp also, but it'll be most simple and act once you see the QR on the screen and try and scan from here, access a form and quickly fill it up before you leave the auditorium. Is the projector on? I can see a blue light here though. Yes, so here's a QR on the screen. If you can please try scanning. Simply the camera of your phone, please. Don't use a QR scanner, just the camera of your phone. It's working? Could we access the form? Aarti ma'am, were we able to scan? Did it lead you to a form? Spriya ma'am, if you can please try using your phone, maybe. As you use the camera of your phone, and once you touch on the QR, there'll be some kind of an indication, a yellow light showing Google or that'll be your clue to hit at that point and access the form, and the form will open. This is a feedback form, ma'am. That was a registration form. So we really value your thoughts, and it'll be lovely as an encouragement if you share your feedback as you leave.
What about the
Indirectly, you can go to Google links.
Zoom participants, ma'am? What about
And we look
Zoom?
forward to meeting you all tomorrow. Your participation certificates are outside at the registration desk. Ms. Sinduri, we request you to please guide the participants and everybody to the registration desk to collect their participation certificates, please. Thank you. And we also have tea and coffee waiting for you at the same place where you had your lunch. So bye till we meet.
Hello. Hello. Hello.
There is nobody replying, so no need to make your hand. Thank you. Bye bye, everyone.
Bye bye. Ba, yang keren sepeda. Kaliwat sa, kami menjawab bus.
India's new education policy and Nipun Bharat mission have given the highest importance to foundational literacy and numeracy. The classic problem in education has been speed, the speed of learning. Even after 3 years of schooling, most children do not know how to read, write, or do basic numeracy. Without these skills, children lag behind and eventually lose interest. But there is a new disruptive research-based pedagogy that is making a huge difference. Alpha, or Accelerating Learning for All. Alpha has shown it is possible to make children learn foundational skills within months and not years. Oral reading fluency follows from the ability to read in the first place. Alpha pedagogy has been incorporated in the Global Dream Toolkits, an online learning app called Literacy Now. Lessons are broken down into half-page modules. Children work in pairs. The children take turns to ask questions from each other and answer them. The teacher does not teach. Instead, the teacher reads out the prompts which tell the children what their task is. The results from this process-led transformation is that learning explodes. It is also a joyful learning process. Global Dream Toolkits are now available in 15 Indian languages.